lot of atheists have been claiming on my Facebook page that they don't need to defend their position because their atheism is simply a lack of belief. And since it's a lack of belief, they don't need to defend it. Now, that's pretty absurd, so I decided to make a meme about it. When atheists claim that their position is neutral and requires no justification because they simply lack a belief. By that logic, a belief that cars have no maker is neutral and requires no defense since it is simply a lack of belief in car makers. So I want to address a common criticism. Alright, this one came up time and time again, and as you can see, 68 atheists liked it. So obviously, it's a common belief among atheists. So this guy said, the fact that cars have makers is demonstrable and backed by irrefutable evidence. When you can point me to similarly compelling evidence for the existence of God, I'll have no problem accepting it. And he goes on to say, your analogy is incredibly stupid, blah blah blah. But he actually misunderstood me. What they did here is they actually misrepresented my position. I'm not even comparing the amount of evidence for car makers versus the amount of evidence for God's existence. I'm merely showing that just because you lack a belief in something, that doesn't mean that that position is neutral or requires no justification. Now, as this user admitted, there's a lot of evidence for car makers, and so therefore, that's the neutral position. If you want to believe that cars don't have a maker, that no one made them, then obviously that's a position that requires justification. You better be able to back that up because there's simply no evidence that cars can form by themselves. Now, what about the existence of God? Where is the evidence? Well, Christians can provide a lot of positive evidence for the existence of God. Whether it's the moral argument, the ontological argument, or the teleological argument, or even the evidence from the resurrection of Jesus, or, watch any debate by William Lane Craig, where he can defend about half a dozen arguments for the existence of God. Alright, there's no lack of evidence for the existence of God. Now, what about the evidence against the existence of God? Well, atheists don't have any. That's why they try and claim that they don't need to provide any evidence. Now let's think about this. If all the evidence is on the side of there being a God, then shouldn't the neutral position be theism? And if you want to call yourself an atheist, then shouldn't you have pretty good justification for that? See, here's the thing. You want to claim that you don't need to defend your position by virtue of the fact that it's a lack of belief. But we know that's not true, as we saw with the car analogy. You guys all fell right for that trap. But see, you guys are all very quick to point out that cars do have a maker. There are people who build cars, and there's good evidence for that. And so what you're really saying is that atheism is not a neutral belief. And in order to be an atheist, you have to be able to show that there is no good evidence for the existence of God. And so the burden of proof is on you to demonstrate that there is no evidence for the existence of God. And there are plenty of evidences, so I guess your burden of proof is that you need to show that every single piece of evidence for the existence of God is not good and wrong. That's your burden of proof. So again, if you want to claim that no one builds cars or makes cars, you better have a good reason. And if you want to claim that there is no creator, that there is no God, then again, you better have a good reason.